Most of you are aware that this space is relatively new. We opened it sometime in the last year or so. Hard to believe that we didn't have a regular gallery here on the campus while we exhibited art all over the campus and still do. Thank you for coming this morning to open the Parlor City, the Good Old Days exhibit, which is our student, another example of our student and faculty efforts around our wonderful art program. This one is particularly nice because it not only does it represent a somewhat traditional art exhibit, but also exhibits a lot of the history of the region. Really nice to see a quick snapshot of the history of the area through this exhibit. I think everyone knows I'm not originally from this area, so I'm learning about the history of the region as well. But it reminds me that this area has been home to innovation really since its inception, when we were the nation's #2 cigar manufacturer, believe it or not. And then we moved into one of the nation's largest providers of shoes through Endicott Johnson, and then of course into IBM, and most everyone knows at least roughly the history of IBM. But the invention of the simulator happened right here in the southern tier. It was Edwin Link, I believe, right? The Link invention of the flight simulator, which I learned was a combination of a bellows from an organ and the technology surrounding the bellows, because when you would sit on this giant bellows that was used to power the air through the organ, you would move like you were in a vehicle. And he got the idea of creating a flight simulation from sitting on a giant bellows. I mean, how creative! And it's, you know, I can't imagine the number of people who thought, "Why didn't I think of that?" And it all started right here in what was called the Valley of Opportunity, and still is the Valley of Opportunity today. Professor Groth's students, and thank you all very much for putting on this dual exhibit here, a little snapshot of the history of the region as well as a snapshot of the talents of our art students. But not only painted the region's landmark, but therefore, through the nature of what they did here, also learned about the history of the region. So we didn't charge you twice for the class, did we? For both a history class and an art class? I hope we just charged you for the tuition for one class. And also learn something about architecture, which of course art students do anyway, but through the beautiful range of architecture in this region, what a great living classroom, if you will, out in our community. I'd like to point out the college's direct involvement with another historic building in town, and that is our beautiful Carnegie Library downtown, which we will be renovating soon and will become the future home of our culinary arts and events planning programs. Like many of Binghamton's historic buildings, many of which are exhibited here, it has a fascinating history. You'll learn more about it when we do not a groundbreaking, because the ground was broken there in like 1899 or something. It opened in 1903, I believe. But when we have a simulated groundbreaking, if you will, for that building, you'll learn a lot more about it. But it was opened in 1903, designed by the finest architects of the time, because of course the Carnegies could afford that, as they could today. And a famous industrialist, Andrew Carnegie, who began the fortune and the legacy that we know mostly as the Carnegie Foundation for the advancement of education today. Our region has a history of innovation and success, as I mentioned, and our talented students are helping today to continue that tradition right here. And as I mentioned, we remain the Valley of Opportunity, and the governor's announcement last week should help us continue that momentum. And now it's my honor to introduce our Executive Vice President, Dr. Francis Satie, who will also address us this morning. Thank you.
And thank you for coming out to this intriguing exhibit. It really is exciting. I did grow up in this area, and I'm a proud graduate of our college. And many of the buildings and landmarks and scenes that Professor Grote's students have created are deeply familiar to me, as they are to many Southern Tier natives. I mean, you just look at this exhibit and you see places that you drive by every day. They are, in short, the shared history of our community, from the legacy of Endicott Johnson, which my father worked at, Singer Link and IBM, to the buildings designed by Isaac Perry, and even the Marconi Tower, Binghamton's first wireless communication way back in 1913. It's truly amazing to think of the ways that our city, Binghamton, has impacted the world, both back in the good old days and also today. And I would like to also point out that two of Professor Grote's prints are on display today of Roberson, the Roberson Mansion, which is now home to our famous museum. Our students do as well, as they've learned from true professionals, masters in the field. Professor Grote, in particular, is a working artist as well as a professor, and he imparts that perspective to his students. This exhibit, the Parlor City exhibit, is also truly interdisciplinary. In addition to the oil paintings that students in Professor Grote's computer graphics course have designed postage stamps featuring local architecture. The English department was also invited to exhibit literary works evoking this bygone era. Art, architecture, graphic history, even a little bit of entrepreneurship. And while you're enjoying the exhibit as you go around, you can also purchase note cards, prints, and antique postcards from the Ed Aswad Carriage House collection. We had an opening the other night, and many people were involved in that. It's just beautiful work. I encourage the community to come out and see the Parlor City good old days. This exhibit is not only a showcase the works of our excellent students and faculty, but really celebrates Binghamton's area's long and innovative history. Thank you all for being here today.